Did Sarah Logan rip off Max the Impaler? Who should John Cena wrestle at WrestleMania? What's up with the NWA? Will Steve eat paper? All these questions are answered and more today on Ask WrestleJuice. Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to Ask WrestleJuice. Let's dive into it. You guys left a bunch of great questions. First up, Johnny Burney says, you think the TNT Championship is the most misused title of the year? Seems to have taken a massive hit in importance. Yeah, the TNT title has been cooled off quite a bit from the days of Cody Rhodes having it. Of course, Cody, when he got the TNT title, had already, I believe, written himself out of the AEW World title. So his thing was, hey, let's take this cable network title and try to make it into something that's a big deal. That's a Cody Rhodes level deal. And I believe he did that. I thought that his time with the TNT title, including when Brody Lee had his hands on it, I thought Miro had a good run with it. Darby Allin had a cool run with it. And once Scorpio Sky got it, I thought it was going to be an elongated run. There was that thing where Sammy Guevara and Cody traded a bunch of times and then Cody ended up leaving. Scorpio Sky got his hands on it and it's like, oh, cool. He changed the colors to be like Laker colors. And I thought he was going to have a run with it. And I don't know if he was injured or what his deal with AEW is at this point. But once it made its way to Wardlow, it sort of sank with Wardlow because then all of a sudden he was just showing up on Rampage. So yeah, compared to where it was in the early days, sure, it's taken a hit. Maybe that'll turn around after Full Gear. Looks like they're going to do some sort of triple threat, maybe with Samoa Joe, Wardlow, and Will Hobbs. And I hope that's the case. But unfortunately for Wardlow, they really haven't done a hell of a lot with him since his big win against MJF, and then he won the TNT title after that. So I don't know what the deal with that is. But yeah, sure, it's taken a hit since then because Cody was trying to make it into like a secondary world title, and he had the stroke to do that. And when he didn't have that stroke anymore, he left. Ollie Chris Hossein says, you believe Sarah Logan stole the gimmick from Max the Impaler? So I hope not. I hope this was a simple misunderstanding. Maybe Sarah Logan had seen something similar to what Max the Impaler had been inspired by and just happened to basically copy it exactly. I know I've seen some people online say, oh, there's like a video game inspiration behind this. It's clearly a Vikings reference. We know the Viking Raiders are Vikings. But it did seem, I mean, look, you don't take my word for it. Just get on Twitter and you can see people blowing this up about how you take a look at Max the Impaler, who, if you don't know who Max the Impaler is, that's totally fine. They are an upcoming or sort of an independent wrestler who's been making a lot of waves there with their unique presentation and has found some time on Impact Television and has been making a name for themselves on the independent scene and has been one of the more interesting wrestlers out there. And to see Sarah Logan show up basically with the exact same attire is disappointing. If Sarah Logan wanted to pay homage to Viking culture, there's like a million other aesthetics she could have chosen to do that. To choose something that somebody who's on the come up in the independent realm is already using, like down to the detail, is unfortunate. I hope it wasn't just like, oh, look at what they're doing, I'm going to do that. I hope it wasn't that. I really do. But you look at the side-by-side comparison and it is pretty striking. You can't, somebody on Twitter said, oh, this is a bit of a stretch. It's kind of not. If you look at the side-by-side comparison, like just use your eyes and you can see that. Now, I hope that there wasn't a ripoff situation involved here, and maybe it's just a misunderstanding, or, hey, I saw this thing, I'm going to use it, not knowing that somebody else was out there already doing it, and maybe she can change it up when she shows up on SmackDown next. I hope that's the situation, because you hate to think, like, if you're doing mental gymnastics to say, oh, no, this isn't a ripoff, put yourself in the shoes of somebody like Max the Impaler, somebody who's worked very hard getting their gimmick over, coming up in the independent realms, maybe feeling, hey, I could break through soon in one of these mainstream companies. And then somebody shows up on network TV doing exactly what you're already doing. That could be disheartening. I would hate to be in that position. That's a terrible position to be in. And so that's where I'm coming from with it. It's unfortunate. There's enough Viking inspiration you can pull from without literally doing something somebody else is doing. Even if Max the Impaler got their inspiration directly from like a video game character, they're doing that already. So you can pull your inspiration from a different place. So hopefully it'll be fixed. Hopefully it'll be corrected. Critical Sting says, WTF is Billy Corgan doing? Well, he put the NWA title on Tyrus. He's lost Nick Aldis, who now considers NWA a highly toxic brand. I don't know what he's doing over there. The NWA doesn't really appeal to me, kind of because he's had Tyrus there, who I've never been like really fan of. And then he put the title on Trevor Murdoch, who I'm like, okay, I don't know. I've tried to watch a little bit of NWA. It's not really my thing. And now Tyrus has their top title, so I don't know what they're doing. Courtney Coburn says, hey, Steve, my question is, what do you think of Triple H's booking of WWE so far, and what changes do you think he can make to elevate certain wrestlers that might be getting lost in the shuffle? So I just made a video not long ago, did pretty well for being here on the channel. Wrestlers that Triple H have left behind. A couple of the names on there actually had some spotlight matches on SmackDown. Lacey Evans showed up in a match, and Jinder Mahal showed up in a match. Xia Li as well. So it's nice to see some of these wrestlers that I thought might have been just sort of left behind in catering or didn't pique Triple H's interest, get some television time. I've been a fan of what Triple H has been doing in WWE programming. I think SmackDown and Raw are both a lot more watchable than they were under Vince McMahon. There's not endless rematches that don't further anything else. The stories move along a bit more. Have there been missteps? Sure. Writing 5 hours of television every week, as Seth Rollins has pointed out in the past, is probably not that easy. But I think all told, he's been making an effort. And really, at the bottom line is that's all I want. I just want to see that somebody's making an effort over there. And I got the idea during Vince McMahon, the last couple of years of Vince McMahon, that just no effort was being made. That's how I felt. Like, you don't remember that certain rematches already happened and you're doing them again and again and again. I was not a fan of Vince McMahon over the last couple of years as it pertained to WWE programming. Alexander Smith says, do you think you'd enjoy wrestling more if kayfabe was still a thing, or does knowing the truth add another level of enjoyment to the product? I don't think I ever would have thought that wrestling was real. So no, I don't think keeping kayfabe would appeal to me at all. It would probably turn me off if like the big companies still tried to act like what we saw was real. That would be weird. It would probably add even more of a stigma to WWE. So no, I think there are elements of kayfabe that I enjoy when they're being kept. If somebody, for example, gets a kayfabe injury, but they're not really injured. Let's say somebody has their leg broken in the storyline and they're seen out at the grocery store or whatever, limping along, and they have a cast on it, even though I know that this is probably just fake. I appreciate that. I think that stuff is cool. I think trying to adhere to that stuff in the public eye where everybody has cameras and stuff, I think that's cool. I think I appreciate that. I don't think it's necessary, but I appreciate it. So yeah, I don't really care that. I've always felt that I think wrestling would have been better served for going back all the way to the 30s if it was just out and all the companies were just sort of like, hey, this is entertainment. I think people would have been into it regardless. Richard Ives says, was there ever a time you felt TNA could be rivals to WWE, or were they just an alternative? Back when TNA was at their peak, I didn't really think that, like, I never really got the impression that they would be able to compete on WWE's level. And I don't even remember paying too close attention to the ratings. I remember being interested when they were going to move to like Mondays. I think when Hogan came on board, they were going to try to compete with Raw. I remember even back then, I felt that was a bad idea. That was a bad move. So no, I don't know if I ever thought that. I didn't come around. Honestly, I appreciate TNA a lot more now than I did back then. Back then, you would just hear much more of the bad stories than the good stuff. You'd hear and see a lot more of the sort of silly things they would do as opposed to any of the cool things they would do. So I didn't really give much attention to it. I kind of want to go back and watch a lot of it these days, though. Ryan F. says, based on what happened on SmackDown, I think it'll be Bloodline versus Sheamus, Brutes, McIntyre, and a TBA. Who do you think will be the TBA? TBA was going to be Kevin Owens. I'm kind of positive about that. He's been injured. Apparently, this weekend, he had an injury at a house show. to his knee, and they don't know if he's going to be able to make War Games. So barring Kevin Owens, maybe you throw a Gargano in there. Maybe a Bobby Lashley could be fun. So yeah, any of those names I think would probably work for the cage. The cages. Milo the Dealer says, what do you think would be the incident that makes Daniel Garcia turn on Jericho and win the Ring of Honor title? I was hoping they were going to go there, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go there anymore. I thought the Daniel Garcia stuff was really, really strong. And then him simply to regress and rejoin Jericho Appreciation Society. I wasn't into that. I was hoping that I was like, oh, is there going to be more twists and turns here? And then there weren't any twists and turns there. That was just it. Mary Planet Houston says, what wrestlers would you be scared of if they came into a crowd and started fighting right in front of you? I think the only one would be New Jack. Rest in peace. It would have been New Jack. Legitimately sort of like he had that. If that whole thing was an act, man, he did a hell of a job pulling off that act, because that dude seemed like legitimately did not give any fucks. Gustavo Clarindo says, did you have the chance to see Becky playing Cyndi Lauper? Only the clips that I saw online. That show seems really goofy to me, Young Rock. I know it's sort of the point, but it's like a little too goofy for me. So I don't know. I saw Becky Lynch. All I could think was it's Becky Lynch. She didn't exactly like bury herself in the character, but again, it's a silly, goofy sitcom. So like, why would she? But I don't know. She had the voice down kind of, I guess. Mitchell Holcomb says, with WWE mentioning CMLL and New Japan openly on commentary, as well as allowing Anderson to do his never title and Nakamura having his match with Muta, are we inching closer to Steve eating the fax paper? Will we see WWE do an open crossover with another promotion? Yeah. But the thing, I'll have to go back and revisit that video, because I don't know if I said I would eat a piece of paper if it was any crossover show or if it was just AEW. I'd be shocked if they did an AEW crossover show. I'd still be kind of shocked if they did a New Japan crossover show. So, but I think we are inching closer to me eating paper on that one, regardless. Stinky Bojangles, in 2 years from now, who do you think will be the world champions of AEW, WWE, and New Japan? 2 years from now, WWE, I don't know. Seth Rollins, probably one of their champions. Bray Wyatt, maybe another of their champions. Those are good bets. Those are good bets. Dark horse candidates: Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre. Super dark horse, Johnny Gargano. AEW 2 years from now, kind of too early to tell. I think MJF's going to carry it for a while. Maybe if Adam Cole gets healthy, 2 years from now, he'll be champion. Maybe if Danielson sticks around, he'll have a run. So possibly Danielson. Mox is probably the easy answer. New Japan, Okada. Probably Will Ospreay. I think Will Ospreay will end up being sort of the next couple of years Jay White, you know? Curse of the Moon. Should we view Austin Theory's terrible cash-in as a sign of his future under the man with 3 H's? No, I think it means that Triple H doesn't want to deal with Money in the Bank right now, so he just ripped the Band-Aid off. I think he's got bigger plans for Austin Theory, and I think he's going to try some of those plans soon. Excuse me. I did a video on that cash-in, by the way, so you should check that out because I talk about it in depth over there. I'll put that right here. Arsenal Sergeant, how long do you think it'll be before Sol Ruca comes to the ring smashing a beer can on her head while holding a kendo with her other hand and enter Sandman playing? This is funny because Sol Ruca is playing a surfer character, and the Sandman originally was a surfer character. Sean Chan says, who would you like to see and who should John Cena wrestle at WrestleMania? I'm going to go with Austin Theory on this one. I think you get Austin Theory back on the right path, have him beat John Cena. He's going to be in a pretty good spot there. Victor Jordan, how long before the intrigue of Bray Wyatt wears thin? You got to let the guy have some matches first, man. It seems like he's going to have some match against LA Knight, I think, if SmackDown's to be believed. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, says, who do you think should beat Roman Reigns for the title? Cody Rhodes. Let's see here. And that's going to do it. Yeah, that's it. That's all the questions I have. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for your questions. I really appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you over there. There's my doggy right there. I'll move this so you can see her little pretty face. Look at her old pretty face. What are you doing? Oh, she moved.